Today on the CTV News at 5. Thousands of First Nations members protest a federal bill they say will mean detrimental changes to the Indian Act. Plus, funny money. 2 people are charged after police uncover $15,000 in American counterfeit cash. And
the pass, Ramsey scores!
Thousands of bears rain down at the NMAX Center to help sick kids feel a little bit better.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. First Nations people across Canada sent a strong message to the Harper government today. They gathered to demonstrate against Bill C-45, which among other things includes changes to the Indian Act. On the Blood Reserve, several hundred people gathered to voice opposition to the bill. Terry Vogt reports.
Several hundred protesters gathered outside the Standoff Sports Centre for a short but noisy march across the highway to nearby Red Crow Park. Officially, it was called Idle No More, part of a nationwide demonstration against parts of Bill C-45, which protest groups say contains changes to the Indian Act and other legislation that will have a drastic effect on their communities.
The Harper government is attacking First Nations. This is the government of Canada violating the laws of Canada, and it's very serious, and we're fed up with it.
The gathering that we are seeing in the Blood territory right now, I'm encouraging all Indigenous peoples to stand up to the Harper government, and now.
Some of the protesters are calling it the most important event they've ever taken part in. This demonstration included band councillors, elders, and children. Chief Charles Weaselhead says the community has taken the initiative and it's time to rise to the occasion.
This is my proudest moment as a leader. Our people have spoken and leadership must now act.
And I hope we stand together right to the end and Harper cannot push us around any longer.
And we're not going to take no for an answer, and we're not going to let these bills be passed.
First Nations leaders say they've been pushed to the limit, but now the federal government is dealing with a united voice of all the tribes throughout the country. They're also vowing that rallies like this are only the beginning, that more demonstrations and legal action will follow if the Harper government isn't prepared to respect treaty rights and doesn't start listening and consulting with First Nations people. Terry Vogt, CTV News, on the Blood Reserve.
And there were other demonstrations across the country today, including one outside the Prime Minister's constituency office in Calgary. As we mentioned, many First Nations groups say the changes will have a drastic effect on their communities and that there should have been more consultation. The protesters want Canadians to know that this is only the beginning of their opposition to the controversial omnibus bill. There were also protests held at the Piikani First Nation today as well. Okay, so Dory and I, we will talk several times throughout the day and send several emails back and forth. And I always know that it's going to get cooler when you start using the word seasonal. Seasonal, Dory.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this time of year, seasonal is cool anyway, right? It's 0 for a daytime high here in Lethbridge right now, and -1 as you get into, -3 actually, as you get into the Medicine Hat area. So we are going to be seasonal. We'll be a little above seasonal, and we'll be a little below seasonal for the next few days. So I'll tell you all about it in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. A Lethbridge man's second-degree murder trial did not go ahead as planned today. Instead, he pleaded guilty to manslaughter. 21-year-old J.J. Guy was stabbed to death in November of 2010 outside the Colehurst Community Center. Guy's family says that he died trying to protect his younger brother. Today, court heard that Guy stepped in and was stabbed 8 times with a box cutter. 27-year-old Harpal Singh Dillon was charged with second-degree murder and assault in the death. Today, he pled guilty to manslaughter, as well as to 2 counts of assault with a weapon for injuring 2 others who tried to break up the fight. Sentencing has been set over for May the 24th. A man and a woman are facing charges in connection with a counterfeit cash operation uncovered by Lethbridge Regional Police. Officers received a complaint Saturday concerning some suspicious counterfeit $50 bills. Well, that led to an investigation by the Economic Crimes Unit. 2 people were taken into custody, and more than $15,000 in counterfeit American cash was recovered from their vehicle. 34-year-old Terry LaRoe of Lethbridge and 37-year-old Gregory Dempsey of Calgary are both charged with passing and possessing counterfeit money and possessing materials used for counterfeiting.
With American money, I would say the best thing is just take a real bill if you have one and have one on hand to compare to. They do have security features like color changing numbers on the right-hand corner. They have security fibers. Some merchants have the UV light to check the secret fibers inside to see if they light up. Those are a few of the security features, but even with our Canadian bills, I would recommend having a genuine bill on hand. That's the best way to make sure that it's genuine.
Now, police say counterfeit bills were passed in Lethbridge, Taber, and Medicine Hat on several occasions over the past 3 months. Police are now checking with other jurisdictions to see if they're investigating similar complaints. LaRoe and Dempsey have been remanded in custody until Wednesday. Well, families of the victims of serial killer Robert Pickton will soon hear details of how police mishandled the investigation. The report is expected to explain why the RCMP and Vancouver police weren't able to arrest Pickton before 2002. This despite evidence linking him to disappearing sex trade workers in Vancouver years beforehand. Pickton was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Brenda Wolfe, originally from Pincher Creek, is one of the women Pickton murdered. Wolfe grew up in the Lethbridge area. The RCMP report will be released December the 17th. Well, beef from a Brooks meatpacking plant is being allowed back across the U.S. border. XL Foods was involved in that massive beef recall over E. coli concerns this fall. The meat is once again being allowed south of the border. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has relisted the meatpacking plant. A plant spokesman says operations will gradually be ramped up from the current 75%. Cattle industry officials say the reopening will ultimately improve prices for producers. A Winnipeg hunter lost for 3 weeks in the woods of southeastern Manitoba says that he survived on melted snow and the love of his family. As John Hendricks reports, Brad Lambert eventually decided to break the cardinal rule of those who are lost, and he started walking and looking for help.
I'm just glad to be home.
Home after the longest and most dangerous hunting trip of Brad Lambert's life. On November 15th, Lambert set off on a hunting trip in these woods near Marchand. Hours later, the experienced hunter realized he was lost and trapped.
I spent nights in my vehicle and days building fires and looking for planes, flagging down aircraft, etc., etc.
But what he couldn't do was find his way out of the dense bush.
It's very easy to get turned around. You can wander in circles for days.
Archie Chabot knows these woods like the back of his hand. A member of the search party, Chabot isn't surprised at all Lambert got lost here. He's more surprised he made it out alive.
The will to live is an amazing thing, I guess. You can wander around forever back there and not come across nothing in some areas.
Indeed, Lambert says he wasn't able to catch a single animal for food. And it was cold, with temperatures dipping below -20 several evenings. But he did have a plentiful supply of snow, which he melted for water. And that may very well have saved his life. Survival expert David McDonald says, in a situation like Lambert's, water is the key to survival.
What we teach really is 3 minutes without oxygen, and you come close to death. 3 days without water, you can come close to death. In 3 weeks without food, you could certainly come close to death.
Just in the nick of time, Lambert found a road where he was picked up by a passing truck. He was tired, hungry, but glad to be alive. Brad Lambert says it was the thought of his family that kept him going on those many nights when he was alone in the woods. He's thankful they never gave up hope he would return safely. Grateful, too, for the many people who spent days searching and praying for his return.
Such an amazing story. Now back to news in southern Alberta. It was raining teddy bears over the weekend.
McKechnie, Hood out in front, the pass, Ramsey scores! Brady Ramsey, and there goes the teddy bear toss.
The Lethbridge Hurricanes collected more than 4,000 bears during their 17th annual teddy bear toss on Saturday. The goal that started the stuffed animal landslide came at 5:07 of the first period. The bears will be distributed among a variety of groups, including the Interfaith Food Bank, Begana Youth Center, Salvation Army, and RCMP Victim Services Unit. Some were also delivered to the children at the Chinook Regional Hospital this morning. We'll have more on that coming up in sports. Athletes at Lethbridge College gathered for breakfast during their athletic break to help support less fortunate children. The Kodiaks held their third annual charity Christmas breakfast benefiting the Salvation Army's Toys for Tots campaign. Athletes were asked to bring donations for children aged 10 to 17, a comfortable shopping demographic for most of the student athletes. Stuffed animals, sporting equipment, and gift cards filled the donation table of gifts from students who gave what they could.
But it's also a demographic that is often seen as selfish and is unmindful of what's going on in the community. And so to be in a room full of young people, future leaders of our communities who get that they have something that they can give back and voluntarily choose to do that is remarkable.
It doesn't cost much to give a gift, and it's not much to tell someone, you know, you care. So it's doing something small that it could go a long way in someone's life.
And the German community of southern Alberta came together to share traditional Christmas lessons and carols. The annual German language service was an opportunity to take in Christmas true German fashion. The service was free to the public and spoken entirely in German. Free will offerings accepted during the service will go to support the Interfaith Food Bank. And since the German language service began in 1999, the church reports growing popularity from all around southern Alberta. The highlight of the event.
Silent Night. Yeah. I think it's everybody's favorite. It's been translated into over 200 languages and it's famous around the world.
Time now to turn to the financial markets and see how they kicked off the week.